Hello, Internet. I'm Carter Eastis, and welcome to the Gluttonous Geek Presents Ranger Rations. In this DIY edition, we're going to be exploring something every Ranger needs lots of: pouches. One of my favorite things about my Ranger adventures is handcrafting a lot of the gear, and one of my favorite things to make is pouches. There's a pouch for my fire kit, a pouch for my first aid, a pouch for my pipe, my toiletries, survival kit, camera equipment, a pouch for everything and everything in its pouch. As you can see, I've got quite a few here, ranging in size, shape, color, and construction. Pouches are a great, simple project, and the key to my variety of pouches? Scraps. Leather shops will often sell bags of scraps for very cheap. It's a great way to get materials for small projects such as pouches without spending a lot of money on large leather hides. So, just yesterday, I went to my local Tandy leather and ended up getting a lot of bags, but they're only $5 each. Today, we're going to use pieces from only one of those bags and see what kind of pouch we can make. All right, let's get started. Out of the many bags of scraps I had, I chose this bag of oiled tan leather. Mostly because I really like this purple piece of leather and thought it would make a good base for the pouch I'm making. I played around with the various pieces in a few different configurations and ultimately decided I liked this other brown piece as the base body of the bag. Trimmed down the purple piece, checked how it would fit with the brown piece. This brown piece I then trimmed down and really just squared off. This is going to make up the outer shell of my pouch. Trim off the bottom piece of the purple leather. And you can kind of start to see how it's coming together with a brown body, front and sides, and a purple flap going over the top. For the bottom of the bag, I'm going to use this other piece of purple that I cut off. I'm using a spool of wire just as a circular template to give me the oblong shape I want for the bottom. Here you can start to see the main three pieces that'll make up this pouch. There's the purple bottom, the brown front and sides, and the purple back and flap. Now I'm going to do some edge beveling on this bottom piece. And then add a groove where my stitching lines are ultimately going to go. Now we start punching stitching holes along that groove. I'll add the same groove for stitching, as well as a bevel onto this brown piece of leather. Then it's on to hole punching. I match up the center hole on the bottom and the side pieces. And then I like to use small wires to help keep all the pieces aligned and pinned together temporarily before they get stitched. Here I'm figuring out where the back piece is going to lay and what's going to need to be trimmed off it. This piece also gets an edge bevel and a stitching groove. Then we punch holes for stitching. Those stitches are going to line up along the bottom with our bottom and side piece. Now to figure out where the front and side piece are going to connect to the back. Here, I'm drawing out where some holes are going to go for belt loops later on. Now I'll punch out and cut those holes for the belt slit. Now we're going to figure out the closure method for this flap on the front. If I don't do it now, it can be very difficult to sew on the inside of a completed pouch. I'm making a small strap that'll sew onto the front of the pouch. With that strap, there's going to be a loop and then a hole in the front flap. When the loop passes through the hole, I can add a closure pin to it and keep things locked into place. You'll see once we're complete. For this project, I'm using a saddle stitch on everything. It's a very simple stitch, but it does involve using 2 needles on either end of the thread, passing each needle through every single hole. It's a fairly simple stitch, but it also makes for one of the strongest stitches you can use in leatherworking. One of the most important things to consider when stitching leather in this manner is really just your hole count. If you're putting two pieces of leather together and you've punched holes in each one, if one piece of leather has 27 holes, you want to make sure the other piece of leather has 27 holes. Just keeping everything aligned is really one of the most important things when putting together a pouch like this. You can see where I've used pieces of wire to keep all of my pieces aligned together. Everything was pre-punched, and I did a count to make sure that the pieces on the side and the back equal the number of holes on the bottom piece of leather. That's really our main seam along this project. I like to put those wires in every 10 holes or so. It just helps me keep things matched up and aligned. When I reach the end of a piece of thread, I like to double back a few times before tying it off. And then we just use a lighter to melt off the ends and keep things from fraying. With all the pieces pinned off and all of the holes counted, I can continue on to the last leg of this sewing, knowing that everything's going to line up properly.
Now the bottom is completely attached to our other pieces. All that's left is a short run up the back to connect the side piece around the belt loop. Occasionally I use a hole punch to widen and help realign the sewing holes. This section of the pouch is really the most difficult part to maneuver, simply because I have to fit my hand inside the pouch and work in a tight corner. Now that everything is together and aligned, I'm going to cut out a hole in the front flap to accommodate the closure loop. I'll then go off screen to find a stick that I can sand down for the locking mechanism. Now, I just need a leather cord to hold that lock in place.
And that's it. Our pouch is done. In just a few hours and for less than $5. Just made from that one bag of scraps. And honestly, there's still leather left over. It's very easy design. Just kind of made it up on the fly. There's nothing really planned out about this. The closure, simply a stick. Literally, just a stick, shaved down a bit, fits in there, locks it in nicely. So that's it. For the Gluttonous Geek, I'm Carter Eastis. And as always, stay safe, stay sane, stay you.